Check, check. Check, check. Is it good? It's good? Is it good or check, check? Hmm. Check, check. 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 I think it worked. Check, check. Good. Check, check. Check, check. Check, check. Check, check. Check, check.
this time, please go ahead and take your seats. We'll be beginning shortly. Is that too loud? Carolyn, is the feedback too loud? Or do you think it's okay?
It's honestly better for me because, like,
I never been really on the stage before, so this is very nice.
oh, really? Oh, you're also first year?
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2026 Executive Debates for the 97th Administration of the Student Government Association. My name is Priscilla Dice. I'm one of the moderators this evening. I'm currently a junior here at Georgia State and the Vice Chair of Marketing for the Election Commission of the Student Government. But enough about me. Tonight features candidates who will debate first for Speaker of the Senate, followed by Executive Vice President, and concluding with candidates for the university-wide president. These debates are streaming live on the Student Engagement YouTube channel. Each debate section will begin with an explanation of allotted time and rebuttal procedures, as well as a chance for candidates to introduce themselves. At the end of each debate, we will open the floor for audience questions. Please write your questions on the note cards provided, and an election commissioner will collect them during the debates. As a reminder, please be aware that in accordance with the election code, professional conduct is expected. No mudslinging, personal attack, or campaign interference will be tolerated. At this time, I'd like to introduce the candidates for Speaker of the Senate: Jolia Honeycutt, Justin Conwell, Cameron Price, and Oyinkansola Adekanye. Okay, for each question, candidates will have 1 minute to respond with the exception of opening remarks. If you need the question repeated, please do not be afraid to ask. Candidates may request one rebuttal per question, which will be granted at the moderator's discretion. Rebuttals are limited to 30 seconds and can be requested through holding up the physical card at your station. Once a rebuttal is used for a question, no additional rebuttals will be allowed. A black card will be held up when you have 15 seconds remaining. Please be mindful of time, as responses will be cut off when time expires. Okay, candidates, for the first question, please introduce yourself and explain why you are interested in serving as the next Atlanta campus Speaker of the Senate. You have 90 seconds to answer this question. Ms. Honeycutt, you may begin.
Hello. Hello, everyone. My name is Jolia Honeycutt. I'm a junior biology major, and I am interested in being Speaker of the Senate of the Atlanta campus because I was Speaker of the Senate of the Clarkston campus, where I fell in love with the position and all of those responsibilities. I led and guided our senators, made a very impactful experience on our Clarkston campus, and I would just love to continue doing that great work at the Atlanta campus. And being the Speaker of Senate at the Clarkston campus and being in the SGA in general made a very good impact on me, and it helped me find my voice and my place on campus and open the door to many opportunities for me. And as Speaker of the Atlanta campus, I would love to open those same doors and give the same opportunities to other students and even more. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. Ms. Price?
Good afternoon, friends, family, and senators. My name is Cameron Price. I'm a first-year nursing major here at the illustrious Georgia State University with a minor in psychology. I currently serve in this administration as the senator for the College of Nursing and Health Professions. I am interested in running for speaker, not only because of just the title. It's more than a title to me. I feel like most of the time when I'm connecting with many of my freshman peers specifically, that many of them do not know that we have an SGA. Many of them have concerns and questions and they're never allowed to bring them to the table to be able to be implemented. So that is part of my platform, seen, heard, and represented. As I plan to, increase student engagement, ROS, visibility, and bringing SGA to the front line of this university. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Ms. Adekanye, you may go.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Okinsola Adekanye. I am a first-year neuroscience student on the pre-medical track. And last semester, I was freshman liaison, and right now, I currently serve as the communications director for this campus, which is a part of the executive committee. Having been on this committee, or being in this organization, I realized there's a really big disconnect between SGA and the student body. A lot of people don't know that we have an SGA. They don't know what that is. And as a result, that's how I created my campaign points of visibility, accessibility, and connection. Visibility. SGA does a lot of great things, but people don't know about it. That's something that we need to work on. People can only engage if they know that it exists. Accessibility. Students need to feel like they can come to us and that we can hear them and address their problems and their issues. And connection. We are the Student Government Association. First word is student. Student body should be our focus, our focal point, and in order to do that, we have to establish a relationship with them, a working one. We have one, but there's things that we can improve on. Why speaker? Because it is a pivotal, it creates a pivotal point in SGA. It oversees the legislative branch, so they oversee the Senate, but they are also a part of the executive branch in the sense that they're a part of the executive committee. So they provide, So they're very important in terms of keeping SGA running and operating properly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adekanye. Mr. Conwell?
Hi, my name is Justin Conwell. I'm a first year philosophy, politics, and economics major here at Georgia State. I believe that connection is one of the most important aspects and one of the most important skills in any facet of life if you want to have any change. It's one thing to just say that we can get things done, but it's a complete other to actually engage in actions that produce change. During my senior year at Norcross, I had an internship with the city of Norcross in which I had to engage the city's diverse population in practices that help sustainability and environmentalism. And while it was kind of boring, one thing that it taught me was that we had to connect different languages. I had to connect with people who spoke Spanish, Russian, and Vietnamese. And one of the things that I learned was that if a community doesn't feel heard by the people that represent them, then ultimately any change that's made in their favor, they're not going to feel. So I want to take that same database approach that I took during my internship and take it to SGA. I feel like we can be more analytical in the way that we get student points, and we can definitely use them in more effective ways. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Mr. Conwell. Just to recap, for these next few questions, you will have 1 minute to respond. So for question 2, please describe what your understanding of the role of the Speaker of the Senate. What does that look like, and how would you embody that role if elected? Ms. Adekanye, you may begin.
As stated prior, the Speaker of the Senate oversees Senate meetings, so they are in charge of running it. And then on top of that, they're a part of the executive committee, and they're part of reporting what's going on in the Senate. So it's really important to have a Speaker of the Senate that knows what's going on, because not only do they oversee senators individually, they also oversee committees like academic affairs and student engagement. So if the Speaker of the Senate is not aware of what they're doing, it makes things a lot harder for the rest of the Senate, rest of student government to run smoothly. That's why it's important to have someone that is aware of the responsibilities that come with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adekanye. Mr. Conwell?
As I understand, the role of the speaker is to connect the student body to the SGA, and I understand that the role of the SGA is to connect us to the higher ups and actually incite change. I feel like somebody who is the Speaker of the Senate should definitely have some sort of connectivity to the students, somebody who is sociable and somebody who knows the student body. I feel like it should be someone who is able to communicate with people in a way and meet them level-headed where they're at and actually gauge where students are at and what's actually pressing the student body. Thanks for that question.
Thank you, Mr. Conwell. Ms. Honeycutt, you may go.
Being speaker of Senate is a very supportive role. Support is like a very major component with being speaker and responsibilities. You have to support your senators. You have to support, guide them, empower them, and be that person they can lead and trust and be open with. And you have to support the vice president and the president and be there for them and be reliable to work with them. And as with being speaker, you have to be just open, be there for people, be that person that's easy to talk to, people can communicate with and rely on. As speaker, you're very like the structure of the association. You have to run the meetings, communicate, send the emails, do the agendas. So you just have to be there for people. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. Ms. Price?
As many of them previously mentioned, that the role of speaker is to obviously preside over any legislative business that we do have in the Senate. But also I would like to put this forward that being a speaker is more than just presiding over the body. It's about connecting with your peers and our fellow Panthers. Like I previously stated, many of my freshman peers do not know that we have an SGA and many of them have ideas. And one word that specifically stuck out to me in the question is embody. Because when you embody the principles of a role, that is deeper than just the title of that role. As I previously mentioned, this is deeper than a title to me. This is about bringing visibility to RS organizations and to students and bringing SGA to the front line of our university. Yes, all these other candidates, they did provide the front line of what a speaker is supposed to do, and that from legislative business to executive committees to supporting the vice president and the president. But many of them forgot to say to support our students, because any of us, in the end of the day, we're working for the students, we're for the students, by the students. So I do thank you for that question.
Thank you, Ms. Price. And as a reminder, before we move on to our next question, the 15-second warning will be held up by that whiteboard right over there. Perfect. Moving on to our next question. How would you help bridge the gap between student government and the broader student body? Mr. Conwell, you may begin.
During Valentine's Day week here, there was an interesting thing that happened in the library. I believe it was called Love Data Study Week or something like that. There was a board where they were leaving random questions like, what's your love language, or who do you think should pay on the first date? And I found that poll really interesting because the questions were so simple, but it made the school body seem so human to me. I made a few friends talking to people on that board, and I honestly think if the SGA were to implement something like that in more common areas, really getting a gauge on what the student body wants, then we can get more effective change more fast. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Mr. Conwell. Ms. Price, you may go.
The question stated that how would I bridge the student government to the student body? I would like to also include that I am already doing this. That's my role as senator. I reach out to many of my freshman peers, from the residential halls to other organizations I am in. I am in numerous organizations, I would say to be a freshman, from the pageant for Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated to the nursing board students of Georgia State to Panther Leap. I connect with my peers every day in all my daily interactions. I want to put an emphasis on, just bridging that connection, because many of our students, when we look at our SGA leaders, we think that there are some that are unapproachable. And I just want to break that stigma and let students know that you can come to me, that it is, okay to bring your concerns to me as I do work for you. So thank you for that question.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Next, Ms. Honeycutt.
One of my core principles is university collaboration. I believe that the solution to bridge the gap between our student government and the student bodies actually starts with our student government itself. I believe that we should meet the students where they are already. We should interact with the students, engage in their interests first so they can engage in ours. For example, we can visit our different organizations and departments and be active in their events and what they have going on. so they will want to do the same for us and be active in our be active in our student and government association, attend our meetings, speak up, and share their interests with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. Finally, Ms. Adekanye.
The biggest way we can bridge the gap between student government and the student body is increasing outreach. That could look like tabling, going outside to the spaces where students are and providing information that way. That could also look like creating an online form, something that I'm already doing that I hope to implement in the next school year, where students can put their comments, their concerns, and then through being Speaker of the Senate, it would be really easy to direct those comments and concerns to the right parties, the right schools. Additionally, having meetings, we have meetings bi-weekly. A lot of people don't know that. They don't know where it is. They don't know how to get involved. That's a great way to get involved. Come to our meetings. It's going to be available on PIN, hopefully for next school year. We already started implementing that this school year, but we would like to increase that. Also, giving meeting updates, letting people know what we do at our meetings if they weren't able to physically attend there. And additionally, SGA, there's a lot that goes into it, a lot of terminology, making it easy to digest. For someone that isn't familiar with the program, just making it so that they can understand what we're doing as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adekanye. Our next question is, how do you plan to ensure that senators consistently make their constituents aware of legislation that affects them? Ms. Price, you may begin.
In addition to my role as senator, I also serve as committee vice chair for the Student Engagement Committee. We have had a recent rise in concern where I feel like personally that our senators aren't doing enough to connect with our student body, whether that's attending meetings, bringing their concerns to us, things of that nature. Responsibility is one of the things that I'm very, very big on. I'm very big on if you do not take too much on your plate if you feel like you're not ready to take it upon. SGA, yes, while SGA is a big major commitment, especially at this university, we serve over 55,000 students. So if you're not willing to connect with those students and bring those concerns, I always tell people, don't take upon the role, because this role is deeper than just title. Yes, this title can get you into several rooms that you might not be able to usually get into, but you have to take upon those responsibilities of the title. Whether that's meeting with constituents, and our constituents are our students, meeting with ROSs and bringing those concerns directly to us. So thank you for that question.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Next, Ms. Honeycutt.
I would hold our senators accountable. I would make sure that they're not slacking off and they're continuing doing the work that they're promised and made an oath to do, and put our students' interests first and at heart in their actions. If I see them, if they're slacking off, I would meet with them, make sure that everything's okay first, and I would just ensure them that they have responsibilities that needs to be done, and to just put the students first. And I would make goals for them. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. Ms. Adekanye.
Maybe I'm a little bit biased because I'm comms director, but I think the most important tool we could use is social media. Given the generation that we're in, I wouldn't be surprised if most members of our student government have social media, so that would be the biggest way to push out information regarding legislation, and obviously it makes it easier to make it more direct for whatever school a senator is representing. Additionally, word of mouth, just spreading the word, hey, we passed this, this affects you this way. That's, I think, the most effective way that we could encourage our senators to spread that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adekanye. Finally, Mr. Conwell.
I actually think that the student body is not craving something online. I actually think we're craving something old and nostalgic. I think we're looking for a time where we can get engaged and have that college experience that we saw in the movies and on TV. And I don't really think that's achievable by continuing to go through the same routes that we've seen years and years again. We can't keep going through Instagram and saying, come out. We can't keep sending emails. I think it's more relational than anything. I think we should actually get boots on the ground and talk and start conversations with the people that we hope to represent. So thank you for that question.
Thank you, Mr. Conwell. Finally, for your closing remarks, please explain how you would increase involvement and engagement among senators and the SGA itself. Ms. Honeycutt, you may begin.
Like I said previously, I would set goals for our senators. I would make sure that whatever they're doing, they want to do. I feel like that's very important with their initiative and goals. They should be something that they're passionate about, not something that they're forced to do. To put their students' interests first, and they should. I would just make sure our meetings would be very productive and efficient, and that our senators are attentive and listening and actually doing their oath and what they're said that they should do. And I would make sure that our senators are actually very active and they're not just slacking off and they're actually doing their job and wants to be here. And that's the most important thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. Ms. Price?
Again, as I previously mentioned, that requires holding senators responsible, because most of the time when we take up responsibilities, like I said, do not take up too many things in college, because I know it's in college we tend to want to build our resume. Don't take up too many things at college if you're not ready. Letting senators and even students, this is a word for y'all, if it's too much, step back. It's okay to step back for yourself. And just letting the senators that are, elected and chosen, to let them know that we are here for the students, and ultimately at the end of the day, that this role comes with responsibilities. This is not just a title. As I previously keep reiterating, this is deeper than a title. It's more than a title. Even though I currently serve as senator, this still, as myself, I also have to remind myself sometimes it's okay to step back. It's okay to take a few days, and don't overfill where you can't overflow. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Ms. Adekanye?
Could you please repeat the question?
Yes, of course. For your closing remarks, please explain how you would increase involvement and engagement among senators within SGA itself.
So just as a point of information, we do have a point system, and the way that works is if people aren't showing up the way that they need to, they get put in a system, and that's a way that we hold our senators accountable. But obviously not everything should just be about punishment. I think another way we could get senators to stay engaged is by creating a good work environment. I want people to feel like they matter and what they're doing matters, and also just small things like birthdays, remembering people's birthdays, celebrating people's small wins. That could go a long way in terms of being there for each other and in turn being there for the rest of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adekanye.
Just to give y'all.
Sorry about that. Mr. Conwell?
I feel like the role as the senator and the role as SGA as a whole is to serve the student body and to connect us to people who can actually make institutional change in our school. And I feel like it's important to remember, as not just speaker chairs, but as senator or any position within the SGA, that our role is not to just help ourselves, but to help the student body and ultimately make the experience better for not just us, but them. I think having the actual process within facilitating debates and whatnot in SGA as a speaker or chair, I would definitely prioritize understanding that we are relational to these people. These are our friends. These are people who are going to come after us, our siblings who are younger and who may want to attend Georgia State. So thank you for that question.
Thank you, Mr. Conwell. At this time, we are now opening the floor up for live questions, which I have right here. So for our first question, how would you help increase engagement? Sorry, technical difficulties. Again, for our first question, how would you help increase engagement across the entire Georgia State University network in bridging the gap between the campus and its students? Ms. Price, you may begin.
As many of you may know, Georgia State Atlanta campus is not the only campus that we do have. We do have several premier campuses as well. When you want to bridge the gap between those campuses, you also want to make sure, because every campus has different campus culture. And Jujo, just empathizing and putting an emphasis on events and things and just making sure that you're actually bringing things that students want to see. Because most of the time I see with a lot of ROS organizations, things of that nature, they host a lot of events that the students don't want to see. And most of the time we don't take feedback when we're trying to figure out what events students want. So things we just plan it based off what we think we may want. But whether that's putting out polls before we create events or, just connecting with many of our peers who don't serve in leadership roles to try to bring them out of their shell is something good that we could do. I thank you for that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Next, Ms. Honeycutt.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, of course. How would you help increase engagement across the entire Georgia State University network and bridging the gap between the campus and its students?
One thing that I would love to do is have university-wide events with all the campuses. Like, when I'm from the Clarkson campus, like I mentioned before, so the premier campuses really doesn't feel as connected to the main campus. A lot of the events are at the main campus, so I feel like that's one thing we should change is like inviting premier campuses to to the Atlanta campus, having like the events there. Because I know as a transition student, when I first got here, it felt very new and disconnected, which I feel like that should not have been like that. So I would start by that and just bridging like all the campuses together and having that collab events or like having resources, departments, and outreach, and just like things of that nature. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. Ms. Adekanye?
Some things that I would do is, first off, as I said before, we do have multiple campuses. We have other perimeter campuses, so working with the Speaker of the Senate in those campuses as well. Also, we do have a university-wide communications director who oversees all campuses. So if there are events or joint events, working in collaboration with them would be a great way to ensure that everyone is involved. Also, I think a great thing we could do is, as I said before, updates, but it could be monthly updates. So rather than just our campus, it could be what happened in all the campuses, not just as this is what we're telling you, but in a celebratory way of like, we did these things and we want everyone to feel like they're involved in knowing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adekanye. Mr. Conwell?
One thing that I think is really special about Georgia State is that there's no lack of diversity. You can see anybody anywhere. One of the things that I really wanted to highlight during my stay is mainly allowing people to get their voice really heard. People should be able to walk by something at the library, for example, where they're commonly at, and see something that's going to indicate to them SGA is hearing you, SGA is showing you something different. And I feel like right now that is really what's missing from SGA on all campus fronts. Like, for example, that board idea that I mentioned earlier. Could you imagine if we had a board that said, where would you likely go for an event? Or would you likely go get food? Or would you likely go to an event that has amusement rides? I feel like if we were to do those things and take a more data-driven approach, we can easily get the campuses united. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Mr. Conwell. For our next audience question, what is your vision for the SGA, and how do you plan on facilitating that within your role? Ms. Adekanye, you may begin.
The SGA that I want to see is one that's really connected with the student body, one in which people feel comfortable going to the president's door and saying, hey, I have this problem and I want you to listen to me. And we would listen and we would take that into account in our meetings. I want an SGA in which people come to our meetings and they're able to become involved. We literally have a part of our meeting called the Student Forum that is dedicated to students reaching out, addressing concerns that they have. But most people don't know about that. I would love to see more engagement in that way. And the way I can facilitate that as Speaker of the Senate is getting the word out. As I said, Speaker of the Senate is put in a very interesting position in the sense that we're on the back end. We see everything that's going on in the Senate because we oversee it. And that makes us the most important person in terms of telling other people what's going on. We can tell you everything that's going on because we oversee it all. And if I'm able to use my position properly, people should feel like they're more informed going into, say, a meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adekanye. Mr. Conwell?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, of course. What is your vision for the SGA, and how do you plan on facilitating that within your role?
My vision for SGA is that the SGA body is like everyone else in here. I see no difference between the people sitting in the front and the people sitting in the back. I think that me as the Speaker of Senate should especially have a sense of relativity to the people who I hope to represent. And I think as the facilitator of these debates, I would like to set a precedent that everybody in the SGA should also have this connection, so that way we can have people come to these student forums and say the things that are plaguing them. So thank you for that question.
Thank you, Mr. Conwell. Ms. Honeycutt?
I envision the SGA that is empowered, supportive, and effective. And to get there, I believe we should start with the senators. That's why being the Speaker of Senate is very important and dear to me. The senators are, in my opinion, is like one of the most important components of our SGA and like the foundation. They're the ones that works directly hand to hand with our students. And I believe as Speaker of Senate, I will ensure that they are on track and like does what they need, like they do what they need to do and put their student like interests first. And I would make sure that I guide and lead them in the right way and just be there and support them in all the things that they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. Finally, Ms. Price?
The SGA I vision is a frontline SGA. Many of the faces that I see here are some of the faces that I see every day. Some of you live in my residential halls. Some of you we might run across in the dining hall. Even when I'm not in the role of SGA. I just would like he previously stated, the relatability factor is one of the most biggest factors that we could take into consideration. Many of my freshman peers specifically, or even my peers in general, they don't feel that the SGA are approachable, or they literally don't know where to find them. So just bringing SGA to the front line of this university is one of the core missions of my campaign, of my platform, because I have a friend and she's the president of SGA at Tennessee State, front line of their university, and that's the type of SGA I want to embody here, where we are the frontline students could come to us first before they reach out to the dean of students for concerns or things of that nature, just to make sure that all the students feel connected in a way of sense. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Ms. Price. At this time, that concludes our debate for Speaker of the Senate. Thank you again to our candidates, and let's give them a final round of applause. At this time, now I would like to welcome our Executive Vice President candidates to the stage, Brazil Gibbs and Prayosha Patel. For each question, candidates will have 2 minutes to respond, including opening and closing remarks. If you need the question repeated, please do not be afraid to ask. Candidates may request 1 rebuttal per question, which will be granted at the moderator's discretion. Rebuttals are limited to 1 minute and can be requested through holding up the physical card at your station. Once a rebuttal is used for a question, no additional rebuttals will be allowed. A black card will be held up when you have 15 seconds remaining. And just to recap, the black card is referring to a whiteboard. Please be mindful of time, as responses will be cut off when time expires. Please begin by introducing yourself and explaining why you are interested in serving as the next Atlanta campus Executive Vice President. Ms. Gibbs, you may begin.
In the movie Wall-E, the captain realizes that his ship is functional, but it's empty. He then declares with all his might, I don't want to survive, I want to live. Sometimes student government here at Georgia State University falls into the same trap, just surviving. Filling seats, taking minutes,
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Ms. Patel, go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Prayosha Patel and I'm currently a sophomore majoring in computer science. And I'm running again for vice president. Well, not for Atlanta, but I ran for vice president Dunwoody and serving as one currently, and running for vice president Atlanta. I want to start with my journey and how I began from SGA. In SGA, SGA was my first organization I joined in, and I started as volunteer, senator, and then VP. So I think SGA has a very important place in my heart, and I want to serve again as for students. And being in SGA made me realize that how impactful the voices of students are, because from the experience I got in over the past year, I feel SGA plays a really important role in student life. And as Atlanta VP, I want to continue doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patel. For the next question, please describe your understanding of the role of Executive Vice President and how you would embody that role if elected. Ms. Patel, you may go ahead.
I read bylaws last year when I was serving as we were told to read bylaws and our duties and what we are supposed to do. And I read that Atlanta Vice President is supposed to help the president, and we are supposed to be in mandatory fees committee and whatnot. But that's one of the things we are supposed to do. But what I feel is most important is connecting with the students and listening what they want. And I feel connecting with them is the most important, because they are the student body and we work for them. So connecting with them is the most important one. But also, SJ is not just about organizing events, it's about making impacts. So even though we organize events, the events are mainly outreach and resource oriented. So I feel expanding the resources to students is something which I would do as a VP. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patel. Ms. Gibbs?
For the role of vice president, obviously the first thing you do is assist the president, you help the logistics of it, you do your legislation, but I truly believe at the heart of it, you act as a voice for students. I think that's what SG is supposed to be doing. The students should know who I am, who to talk to, where to go, and to embody that role is truly what it means to be a vice president of the Atlanta campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. For our next question, how would you approach the student body to ensure they believe student government is truly their voice, and how would you build trust with them? Ms. Patel, you may begin.
Well, in my tenure of serving Dunwoody EVP, what I realized is the more you talk with students, the more you know what they want. That's simple enough. So over the past year, we have been talking to students on campus, on different campus as well, and getting their suggestions during the events. And I feel getting the suggestion is the most important thing, and working on it. And that's what we have been doing lately. So I think connecting with students in a way what they want and listening to them is something that you should do as a vice president. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patel. Ms. Gibbs?
Could you repeat the question for me, please?
Yes, of course. How would you approach the student body to ensure they believe student government is truly their voice, and how would you build trust with them?
So first, there has to be a level of comfortability. SGA shouldn't seem like something that's unapproachable. All students should feel comfortable saying, "Hey, Brazil, nice to see you. Where are you going today? What plans do you have?" Once you have that comfortability, then we can begin conversations. You can tell me, "Oh, I have an issue with the bathrooms. There's no hooks for the girls. Oh, I really wish my elevator was working when I had to go to class." Then we can relate from that. After that, they can be seen as holding us accountable. They can come to our town hall meetings. They can check our social media. They can see what I'm posting. They can DM me. They can email me. Once the comfortability and relatability is reached, after that, everything will fall into. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. For our next question, what resources does Georgia State University offer that you feel Atlanta campus students do not fully utilize? And how do you plan to bring attention to those resources? Ms. Patel, you may begin.
Oh, that's a long list. Well, the first thing is the student help. There's one resource that
Thank you, Ms. Patel. Ms. Gibbs?
So, like she said, there's a lot of resources that Georgia State offers that not always are talked about. But as we're a college, and after college, you'll be doing LinkedIn interviews, you're going to be going to your professional interviews, you're going to start your life outside of campus. A really big one that I think a lot of students will need to know is the career where you can go ahead and take your photos, you can go ahead and get clothes that you might need. A lot of us go into interviews every day. Even some of the organizations ask you to wear business casual, business professional, and a lot of people can't afford that. That's truthful. They don't have the resources for that. They have to have on LinkedIn if you want a job offer. But how are you going to go on LinkedIn if you don't even have a photo? What are you supposed to do? So that is something that I would hope to prioritize to allow students to have an easy college to career balance or transition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Before I ask this final question, we are going to take a very, very brief intermission to fix some technical difficulties. Thank you. Okay, sorry about that. Finally, for our fifth and final question, for your closing remarks, please discuss your experience leading a team and describe a situation in which you had to make a difficult decision for the betterment of the team dynamic. Ms. Gibbs, you may begin.
So, some of you might not know, but I used to be the president of Bahamian Student Association on campus. I'm currently president of another association as in Sisters in Law, but that organization, BSA, I was chosen for that role. It wasn't something I expected, but I took the leadership on my chin and I decided to do the best I can do. But sometimes you have to realize not every position is for you. And if you cannot come to an agreement with people, sometimes it's better to take yourself out. You shouldn't force other people to sit with things that they might not like. And you shouldn't force anybody to be in a situation that would be harmful to themselves. Sometimes it's okay to say that this is enough. And sometimes it's okay to say step back. I think that's a part of holding yourself accountable and realizing that you're not perfect for everything. You're not going to be good at everything. You're not going to be a great fit for everything. But once you realize that and you figure out the situation from there, I think was a good thing for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Ms. Patel?
Well, a difficult decision. As the vice president of Dunwoody, I have a Senate running, and it's quite of a time commitment, and I have to make sure all my members are working and everything is going smoothly, everything is working. Recently, I assigned a task and weren't able to fulfill it due to some circumstances. So what I would do is I just talk to them, figure out what they were going through. If it's nothing serious, I would inform them about the point system so that they are accountable. So making sure that people are accountable for their responsibilities is one of the things I find most difficult because again, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to, be the strict one or not unapproachable one. So I try to make sure that they're feeling comfortable, they know what they're supposed to do, and it's easier that way. It's just that you have to build a connection. I'm close to my Senate, all are my friends, but then I have to make sure that they're doing their work and they're comfortable reaching out again, if even though I'm pointing them. And side note, I do point, and yeah, it's just the way I work, but apparently this semester has been pretty smooth.
Thank you, Ms. Patel.
Thank you.
These next two questions will be from the audience. So for the first one, how would you connect SGA with the student body to ensure they are informed about it? Ms. Patel, you may begin.
Could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, of course. How would you connect the SGA with the student body to ensure that they are informed about it?
Student body is the main purpose who we are serving, and we have our communications director, our Instagram. That's how we reach out to the maximum student body engagement, and I feel that's the most powerful weapon we have because who is not using Instagram? Everybody has Instagram. We
Thank you, Ms. Patel. Ms. Gibbs?
So, like she said, you can always reach out to SGA and reach out to the student body through SGA on Instagram and social media. But in all honesty, they've been doing that for a while and it hasn't been working that well. Not because they haven't been trying, but sometimes you have to switch things up a little bit. And like previously mentioned, some students want real life connections. I think getting in the field, like they say, and being out in the green space, being out in the library where students can see you and talking to and reaching out to them, and again, making them feel comfortable. If your student body don't even know who their SJ is, why are they going to come and talk to you? Why are they going to follow the Instagram? Do they even know that SJ has an Instagram? Do they even know where the office is? If you're not talking to them on the streets as they're going to go to Twisted Taco, as they're going to go to Dunkin' Donuts, as they're getting their coffees, talking to the professors, how can you then begin to build a connection through social media? So first, getting on the ground and doing that will be the first basis or the streamline to then, building that relationship with the student body.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Our next question is, if you were selected for the position, how would you contribute to increasing safety on campus? Ms. Gibbs, you may begin.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. I think it's such a great question. So obviously, we're in the heart of downtown Atlanta. There's been a lot of crime going on, a lot of issues going on, a lot of safety issues. I used to be in Central my freshman year, and we've had numerous times where we had strangers walk into our buildings. Numerous times where people I knew were scared to leave their room, scared to go out at night, scared to walk past the gas station. All of that isn't something that should happen on a campus, but obviously you're in the city, it happens. With that being said, I think our Panther Card access on each building should be 24 hours. That is an initiative that I will try to complete. There's no way that we have that on every single building, yet it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I can tap it after night and I can still get into the building. I don't have to tap it in the morning. I can still walk in. I think it's better to be proactive instead of reactive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Ms. Patel?
Well, personally for me, I get scared when I have to come to downtown. Well, I have to go back now, so I need someone to walk with me. Yeah, I feel we already have resources. We have on-campus police. We have a lot of other resources as well. But I feel getting people know that we have police, and I mean, it's obvious, but it's, I think, getting more of the outreach on safety and CCTVs and all the other resources which we can provide to students should be available to them, and they should be aware of them. And I agree with the Panther Card. That's one of the things that should be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patel. That concludes our debate for Executive Vice President. Thank you again to our candidates, and let's give them a round of applause. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. With Ms. Patel said, there are resources. There's police officers, the Live Safe app. You can even get a driver to drive you back, but how fast do they come? When there's a homeless person sitting next to you and you're scared, and obviously it's not their fault that they're homeless, but you're a young woman walking down the street at nighttime in downtown Atlanta, I call them, how long are they going to take before they reach there? And although these resources are good, they're not quick enough. So instead of worrying about them being quick enough, at least you know you can feel safe in the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. That actually concludes our debate for Executive Vice President now. Thank you guys again, and let's give them a round of applause. For our last but certainly not least debate, I would like to welcome our university-wide presidential candidates to the stage. Aleo Isafu, Isla Rose Robinson, Marco Gonzalez, and Zaina John Bart. Give us a brief hold for technical difficulties. Sorry again. For each question, candidates will have 90 seconds to respond, with the exception of opening remarks. Candidates may request one rebuttal per question, which will be granted at the moderator's Sorry about that again, guys. For each question, candidates will have 90 seconds to respond, with the exception of opening remarks. Again, candidates may request one rebuttal per question, which will be granted at the moderator's discretion. Rebuttals are limited to 45 seconds and can be requested through holding up the physical card at your station. Once a rebuttal is used for a question, no additional rebuttals will be allowed. A black card, whiteboard, will be held up when you have 15 seconds remaining. Please be mindful of time, as responses will be cut off when time expires. For our first question, please begin by introducing yourself and explaining why you are interested in serving as the next SGA president. You have 2.5 minutes to respond. Mr. Isofo, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank you all for coming to operate in this very civic process. I want to thank the candidates and all of the people, our constituents, each of us, students, faculty. I want to thank you, of course, for coming. But I'm running to ensure that progress doesn't stall. Our past presidents built very strong foundations. Now it's our responsibility to make sure that those foundations are institutionalized. During my time as a senator, head senator, and Speaker Pro Tempore of student government, I worked closely with students, administrators, and my fellow senators to move ideas into real action. My focus as president will be to strengthen student engagement and improving communication between the students and the administration, and ensuring that every campus in the Georgia State system feels represented and supported. SGA works best when it listens and it advocates and it acts responsibly. And that is the kind of leadership that I'll bring. I'll yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Isofo. Ms. Robinson?
Thank you. Progress rarely comes from those who are secure and content. It comes from those who have been unsettled by what they've seen. From the people who notice when something can get better and refuse to accept that it can't change. My name is Isla Rose Robinson, and this university is deeply personal to me. Long before I was a student here, I was walking these grounds. I went to games, I came here on school field trips, and I heard stories from my mom who proudly graduated from Georgia State. But I didn't just arrive here. I grew up watching this university grow. I witnessed Georgia State transform into a powerhouse in the heart of Atlanta, into a place filled with ambition and resilience. But with growth comes responsibility. Student government should not just be a title. It shouldn't just be a tool that places the power of this university back where it belongs, in the hands of the students. Because this campus runs on the voices, the work, and the dreams of people sitting in our classrooms every single day. That's why I'm running. I'm running on the platforms of community, progress, and spirit. Community because no Panther should feel like they are navigating this university alone. Progress because students' voices should not just be heard. They should drive the decisions that shape our campus every single day. And spirit because the pride we carry as Panthers should be felt in every corner of this university. Georgia State, I feel, has given me so much and has shaped the person that I am today. But now I'm ready to fight for the students who make this university what it is. Because the future of Georgia State should never be decided without its students, but for its students, and it should be built by them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Mr. Gonzalez?
Good evening, first of all. My name is Marco Gonzalez, and I want you to tell a quick story, my story. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. My parents, my dad was a business owner, and my mom was a civil engineer. Now, my mom used to tell me stories all the time about a small college that she went to, Georgia Tech. And she made Atlanta seem like the most magical city. So when my brother got a job at Georgia Power, I had the opportunity and the privilege to come to Atlanta in 2022. And I saw that magical city and all that stories that my mom used to tell me, I saw them come to life, and I fell in love with the city right away. And I didn't only see those stories come to life, but I saw a city that grow and keeps on growing nowadays, and I quickly saw opportunity. So when it was time to choose what university I was going to, tech was an option, but tuition was pretty expensive, as you might know. So that was out of the list. And I stumbled into Georgia State, and it was really a blessing. I took the tour, and I couldn't tell which building was Georgia State and which building was just another office building full of businesses that could use my skills. So I applied, got in, and I took a class called Personal and Professional Development. And I met my mentor there, T. Dallas Smith. And he said all the right things, and I just quickly went up to him and asked for an opportunity. And I saw all that because now, a year later, I'm an associate in his firm, and I think that my story could be your story. I want to bring opportunities because I feel as an institution we focus on big businesses, on the Microsoft, on the Googles, on the Ernest & Youngs, and there's a disconnect between small and medium businesses that got to be connected to a student so they can provide opportunity for y'all. I feel like there's also a disconnect between the student body and the SGA. A lot of my fellow classmates don't know about SGA. When I got up and told them that I was running for president, most of them were like, where do I vote? What is SGA? And it's a tool that advocates for you. So everybody should know about that. President, I plan to not only get more followers on the Instagram, but actually get engagement, get people to come and meet the deans and just different activities. And finally, all this won't be possible without transparency and honesty. As a president, I'll propose monthly updates on what my administration is working on and what we're working on next. Thank you and have a good one.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Ms. John Bart?
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I'm so happy to see all y'all faces. Again, my name is Zaina Jean Bart. I am a public policy major with a minor in political science. I am running for president because I want to empower students and I want to advocate for you all. When I came in here as a freshman, that's exactly what SGA did for me and many other offices around the university. They empowered me to be ambitious and to seek for opportunities and to go deeper. And through SGA, I want to do that and help students and advocate them by first, enhancing student success, building transparency, prioritizing safety on campus, and also elevating student life. My experiences with being an SGA in 3 years, first starting off as Senate clerk, where I got to take meeting minutes of everyone who was there and what they were doing, and where I was 2 years in the President's Cabinet, being SGA's first Chief of Staff and currently SGA's first Chief Constituent Officer, working closely with our President in really cool events. 3 impactful events that I was a part of and that I helped facilitate was first the Pathways to Power. And that's where we brought in high school students here and we taught them about the government process and how to pass a bill. Another one that was done in the 95th administration was when we went to the Atlanta City Hall and we went to go advocate to have racetrack taken down. Y'all, I didn't step foot in racetrack. I never did. And I'm so happy to have been part of something where we got to advocate for each other and have that removed. And now that we see that that area is a little bit more safer. And lastly, another impactful event is something that I recently put together. It's where SGA, we partnered with the Atlanta Volunteer Foundation, and we got to be able to do a workshop where students can learn about their rights as renters and learn about the eviction process. These are the things that I want to continue doing as president. I want to continue empowering students and letting y'all know that you have a place here where you can grow and be the best versions of yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. John Bart. For my next question, the SGA president represents students across all campuses of Georgia State University at the associate, bachelor's, master's, and doctoral levels, including students who take the majority of their courses online. How will you ensure that your administration serves all students? Ms. John Bart, you may go ahead.
Thank you. One thing that I have enjoyed during campaigning was getting to speak to every single person individually and getting their feedback. And for us to be able to know what each student needs, no matter what level they are, whether they're graduate or undergraduate, is by going in the spaces where they're at. So connect with undergrad teachers, professors, and connect with also graduate professors and seeing where the students are and maybe stopping by at their class after and waiting and speaking to them like, hey, what are the things that you need? What are the things that we need to improve? What are we doing well on? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. John Bart. Mr. Gonzalez?
Can you repeat the question?
Of course. The SGA president represents students across all campuses of Georgia State University at the associate, bachelor's, master's, and doctoral levels, including students who take the majority of their courses online. How will you ensure that your administration serves all students?
Well, I think it's very important to meet students where they are. I think it's very important to go out to the Greenway, to events, and just everywhere and meet students where they are. We live in a virtual world where Instagram takes a lot of weight, and just the phone, we're always glued to the phone. So it's just getting out there, meeting students where they are, hearing them out. As Saina said, I also been hearing students, and there's a lot of concerns. Here we're talking about events about thrifting, when there was an event going on right there, that it was thrifting. So it's just meeting students where they are, listening, and just solving their issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Isofu?
Thank you for the question. I think that my administration comes from a different perspective. I myself came from the Clarkston campus, so I understand not the plight, but how hard it is to kind of incorporate yourself into the Atlanta society. While I think in our bylaws it states we must visit all of the campuses once, I think I'd like to scale that up a bit. I'd like to ensure that we are having an interchange of sorts through all of our events. I'd like to go to the campuses as much as I can. I frequent the Clarkston campus because I still have friends there. I'm a part of society there. And I think that just founding something where it's an interchanging of all of our personalities and all of our values would be a really good addition. And I'd like to include that in my administration.
Thank you, Mr. Yusufu. Ms. Robinson?
Thank you for that question. As mentioned earlier, over 50,000 students go here, whether it be the Atlanta campus, the Dunwoody campus, the Alpharetta campus, the Newton campus, the Clarkston campus, the Decatur campus, whether they are online or graduate students, and I think there's a major disconnect. There is a major gap. One of the things that I ran on is really prioritizing homecoming and what that means for the students here and what that means for the students that are coming back. And through visiting the different campuses while campaigning and while talking to the students that go to the different campuses, I've learned that there's a major transportation issue. As mentioned earlier, a lot of the students want to come to the Atlanta campus to experience more so maybe a traditional experience in college, and they can't do that if there's no transportation. So what I've done is begin to talk about how do we get transportation from these different places to Atlanta, and the answer to that was a shuttle. And I'm telling you all that that is very accessible and it is very possible, but it has to be done, and I will be the one to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. For our next question, please describe your understanding of the role of president and how you would embody that role if elected. Mr. Gonzalez, you may start.
Well, thank you for the question. The role of a president is literally to be the voice of the students. And how can you be the voice if you don't hear the voice of the students? So again, it's meeting students where they are and providing opportunities so you can answer the question of what is it for me? What is in it for me? And it's providing students with what they need. Now, this entails going out there, asking students what can be better in the university, and actually saying what you do and doing what you say, my bad. But yeah, that's what the role of the president. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Isofu?
Well, if our current president is anything to go by, I think the role of a president has so many meanings. I see President Wilson talking with students in the SGA office just about random things, or if they bring issues to him. But it's also like Marco spoke about, it's also not advertising, it's also representing our students and advocating for them. But there's also that personal level where we have to connect with our student base to make sure that we are understanding each other in a way that is plain and that we can move forward and communicate that to the faculty and staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yusofu. Ms. Robinson?
The role of your SGA president is to be a representative and to be an advocate for the students. But oftentimes we also talk about that means listening to them. But I think there's a major difference between listening to the students and actually acting on what they say and the concerns of the students. I also think that your job is to be the communicative factor between the students and the administration. And I think that's very true to who I am. To be in the role of SGA president is to understand that you are an advocate and you are a fighter. And like I said, that is exactly who I am and exactly what I bring to the table. But it's more than just about representing yourself. It's about representing all of you, not just the people in this room, but the people across the different campuses and the people online and the people that may not feel like they have someone to go to. No matter where you see me, whether you see me in a Chick-fil-A, you see me in class, you see me in the green space, you should feel comfortable enough to know that you can come and talk to me with your issues because I'm the one that's going to represent you. We're the ones that are going to represent you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Ms. John Bart?
Thank you. Other than advocating and representing students, the role of the SGA president is to first, number one, set out 20 hours of the week for office hours, letting students know again that they can come to you and speak to you. But it's also important that as SGA president, that you are maintaining a good relationship with administrators, because the administrators are going to be looking to you to see what are the feedback that you're getting from students. One example that I will give, as chief of staff, there were sometimes places where I got to fill in roles where the president couldn't be because he had to be in another meeting. And I would say one of them would be the Sustainability Fee Council, where we got to basically decide the scholarships that people will get for their sustainability projects. And another one would also be the Safety Council, where we got to see, where we got to give feedbacks. So students, if they're feeling unsafe, that council was where we get to give them back those feedbacks.
Thank you, Ms. John Bart.
Thank you.
For our fourth question, SGA is the only registered student organization that plays a role in university governance and is responsible for appointing students to the University Senate and its committees, including admission and standards, budget, planning and development, and student life. How will you ensure that students take their seat at the table on these university governance committees? Mrs. Robinson?
Sorry, go ahead. Did you say I could respond to this one first too?
Yes, go
Okay,
ahead.
I'll just do it in one. First, I wanted to start off by saying I agree with Diana in the sense that the president has to spend a certain amount of hours in the SGA office. But in actuality, a lot of students don't even know where the SGA office is located. Myself, in fact, when I realized that I was interested in SGA and wanted to get involved, I went to the office and there was no one in there. I walked around, and I came back the next day and guess what? Surprise, there was no one in there. You guys talk about attending your Senate meetings and trying to get involved. I went on PIN, it was last updated in 2025, we're in 2026, at least for the Atlanta campus. And so when we talk about what it means to be in the role of SGA president, that's making sure that every student knows where the SGA office is. That's in making sure that every student knows where the SGA president and their cabinet and the vice president, everyone that is a part of that is located, and they can come and give their concerns. They can come and chat and talk to everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson.
Thank you. Can I answer the second question?
Go ahead.
Okay. Can you reread it, please?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
SGA is the only registered student organization that plays a role in university governance and is responsible for appointing students to the University Senate and its committees, including admission standards, budget, planning and development, and student life. How will you ensure that students take their seat at the table on these university governance committees?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Thank you for asking that. I think it's about also realizing that everyone who serves as senators are key in representing not only their college, but students as a whole. Everyone has a different perspective, and I think when you approach a role, you need to approach the role with empathy. You need to approach the role with making sure that you're listening to their voices, because again, they're going to represent different people throughout the university. But I also think that each student and each senator has the job to work together. There's no I in team. It's about what we can do together. And once you, I think, realize that, your approach becomes very different and you can get a lot of work done.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Ms. John Bart?
Thank you. May you repeat the question one more time, please?
SGA is the only registered student organization that plays a role in university governance and is responsible for appointing students to the University Senate and its committees, including admission and standards, budget, planning and development, and student life. How will you ensure that students take their seat at the table on these university governance committees?
Invite them to the table. You can sometimes also even send out emails, do polls, maybe also to let them know, like, hey, this is what is going on at this meeting. This is what the report that we received. What are your thoughts about it? Or even letting them know before the meeting, before it's about to go on, and ask them, what ideas do you want to bring to the table? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chambart. Mr. Gonzalez?
Thank you for the question. This last year, I've been serving SGA as the University Senate liaison. So I've had the privilege to connect the students, SGA, to the University Senate, which is, at the end of the day, the university governance. Now, under my role as University Senate liaison, we have filled all the seats that students can occupy in the University Senate and the different committees. Personally, I serve in the Budget Committee and the Student Life Committee. And if people don't know about SGA, less people know about the University Senate and the real value that it holds. That's when students, faculty, executives, and all of them come together. So not only senators, but also students, just regular students, can fill these seats. So it goes beyond SGA and actually engaging students to come and participate and have a voice in the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Isofu?
Well, I also served on a university senate committee, and there I learned it is pretty daunting to kind of speak with faculty and just come into the situation not knowing exactly how to go about it. I would urge that I strongly believe that representation is not just symbolic, it's participatory, and it's for us to make sure that our senators who are appointed to the university committees are understanding what their committee is for, understanding what their constituents want from them. I think it's not just reliant on students, but it's also reliant on those who represent those students. Because not every student is up here and wanting to voice their opinions. They want other people to do it for them sometimes. And I think it's heavily stringent that our senators who are appointed to those positions are adequately representing their students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Isofu. For your closing remarks, you have 2.5 minutes. In 1 or 2 words, what is the biggest issue affecting students university-wide, and how will you tackle it? Mr. Gonzalez.
I think the greatest issue is disconnectment. It's having that disconnect that the students don't know that there's a tool out here that advocates for them to not only leadership in school, but also leadership in the whole university system. We are the largest university in Georgia, and we should act like it. SGA should act like it. We represent 50,000 students, so therefore we should act like it. We should meet students where they are, and therefore help them. I'm gonna bring opportunity to campus. I'm gonna use the Student Success Center and bring in small businesses and medium businesses to use our skills for their improvement. We gotta engage with students. We gotta go out to the campus, not only Atlanta campus, with the Perry Mark campus. And I'm gonna do all this with transparency by providing monthly updates and keeping in check all the senators and everybody in SGA and outside too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Isofu?
Could you restate the question?
In 1 or 2 words, what is the biggest issue affecting students university-wide, and how will you tackle it? And you have 2.5 minutes for this question.
I think the biggest issue affecting the students is, like Marco said, is transparency between administration and our students. But I'd also go to say that civic literacy, and with us being just 5 minutes away from the Capitol, I think it's really important that our students are engaging civically. I think that it's important that our students know their rights, that they know what they can exercise, they know how to go about these processes. I think that not only is it important that we are transparent with our students, where it comes to different administrators and exactly how they might see a situation, and that we're communicating that to our student base. And back onto civic responsibility, there is no reason why all of us students who are practicing in a public university shouldn't be engaging in civil responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Isoko. Ms. Robinson?
There are tons of issues that are facing students here on this campus, whether it be safety, the need for beautification, homecoming, access, support. But the one that I'll choose today is that when people get into positions of power, they tend to forget what Sonder means. And Sonder to me is the realization that every person that you pass has a life just as vivid and complex as your own. And I think that relates to every student. That every student carrying their own dreams and their own struggles and their own late night studying and their own hopes for the future. And I would hope that if I were to get into this position, that I remember that there are thousands of stories crossing paths here every single day. And in that moment, we have to represent those people because that's our job. And that this campus isn't just classrooms, it's not just buildings, it's not just busy sidewalks or about what the campus can do for us, but what we can do for the campus and what we can do for the students. I think when students feel connected to where they are, something powerful happens. Campus stops feeling like a place that you just pass through, but it starts feeling like a place where students actually belong. And that's why I decided to run. So thank you for that question.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Ms. Johnbar?
Thank you. An issue that I've noticed that's been affecting our campus university-wide is that students aren't aware of the resources that are around them and also of the partnerships that we have that could help them elevate their careers and what they're looking for. Being in college, it's more about just going to class and then going home, but it's also about being involved in RSOs, being involved in university departments. And so I want to encourage students here on the Atlanta campus and also on the perimeter campuses to be involved in campus, to be involved with the resources that are around them. Because when you are involved, that is what empowers you and that is what also pushes you to keep on going. And as president, that is going to be my number one goal, and even is right now with the people that I meet, is to empower you to be the best version of yourself, help you find those resources, help you connect to the right people in our university, so that way you can leave college with something. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Johnbar. Now for the audience questions, the first of which will be, what is the biggest issue GSU students face right now that you have noticed, and what is your plan to address it as SGA president? Mr. Isoko, you may go.
Whenever I'm talking to my fellow students, a major issue that comes up is our facilities. Georgia State students often tell me that there is an issue with the facility, either being an elevator or the water fountain not working or a pipe bursting and it's student centered. I think that the major issue that we have is not having preparation for these facilities. I want to ensure that our facilities are always running, and as president, I want to sit down with our building managers to make sure that there are proper measures in place should a facility go down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Isoko. Ms. Robinson?
Thank you. In my time of campaigning across the different campuses and talking to a lot of students, the biggest thing I hear over and over and over and over is, well, I didn't know. And I think if you didn't know, it's no way that you can go to the event, it's no way that you're able to show up, it's no way that you're able to really live your college experience and be the best student that you can be if you didn't know that this was happening, if you didn't know that this resource was available, if you didn't know that I could reach out to you or that you could reach out to me. And I think the same way that Pounce can message me about finals, Pounce can message me that this debate was happening today. I think if Pounce can message me and say, hey, have a first great day of school, he can also message me and tell me, hey, your SGA is doing this, and your elected officials are doing this, and oh, did you know we have the Panther Pantry? Did you know we have the Career Closet? Did you know that SGA is throwing the best homecoming ever, but we need you guys to show up? So I think we want to alleviate the issue of I didn't know and make it, oh, did you know? Oh, did you see that? Oh, I saw that. Yeah, are you going? Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Mr. Gonzalez?
Well, I want to second what she said and just say disconnectment. I mean, people don't know. Right now, this debate, this elections are really important for the university, and the room isn't full. So we got to make SGA and events, signature events like prom and other events, unavoidable. People got to see them. We got to keep just feeding the people with this type of information and what's going on the campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Ms. John Bart?
Thank you. I definitely second everything that my fellow candidates have said as well. There's a lot of resources here that a lot of people don't know about. There's a lot of programs that I've been a part of, and I'm sharing it with my friends, and they don't know what it is. Like, for example, the Panthers immersion programs. But other than that, another thing that I would say here, it would be communication from the university. So if there's a big issue that's going on statewide, whether it's question about if ICE is on campus, we need faster response from our university to clear up things that end up coming here. Another thing that I would add, it would be when I went to the perimeter campuses, one thing that they have said is that there is not much involvement there. So we have a lot of university departments here, like the Leadership and Service, where they do a lot of volunteer things. For example, the CCI, they do Jump to Start. The perimeter campuses, they don't really get to have events like that. And I think that's something that we also need to address so that in the perimeter campuses, it also feels like home to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. John Bart. For the final question of the presidential debate, how do you plan to create long-term change that lasts after your term ends? Ms. John Bart, you may begin.
Thank you. One thing that I am going for is legacy leadership. And so when we start to come towards the end of our term, we have to now start to give the resources that we use, the tools that we use, the structure that we use. We have to start transitioning that to the next administration. Start teaching them as they're getting into it, letting them know, hey, these are the things that you should keep up. These are the things that we should keep doing. For example, Meet the Dean's Week. I love Meet the Dean's Week. That's something that a legacy that we should keep on starting. Even something like the Know Your Rights, that should be a series that we keep on starting. And then we teach the next generation, those who are coming next, how to do it and how to do it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. John Bart. Mr. Gonzalez?
Can you repeat the question?
Mm-hmm. How do you plan to create long-term change that lasts after your term ends?
Well, my campaign is on opportunity. And I feel like if we bring the opportunities to the campus, that's going to last forever. Now, how I plan to do this is collaboration with the Student Success Center and getting out there and going to the neighboring businesses and all that to bring opportunity to the campus. Also engagement. We got to build programs and ways to engage the students so that it's unavoidable and they get to events and they participate more with SGA. Once they see all of this come to life and they see the results, this is gonna keep on going way past my presidency. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Isofu?
Many people might think by trying to further something that we are just maintaining and that there's no innovation. But I want to say that too often student governments in Georgia State restart every year. I want to kind of end that reset culture. I have some concrete proposals, which are an annual transit report requiring outgoing administrations to produce measurable transition data. Also a 90-day audit when new SGA's leadership comes in, new administrations, within the first 90 days of the semester. Talking about initiatives or performance of their senators, so on and so forth. But also want to throw around the idea of a continuity council where our former presidents, EVPs, and leaders of SGA come back and kind of further their programs and their initiatives so that they are taken up and not just dropped. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Isofu. Ms. Robinson?
I'm all about the importance of legacy and the importance of impact here on this campus and as people. I think that's important. I think that's why we're here. Can y'all raise y'all hands if y'all know where the GSU police building is? Okay, great. So if you know where the GSU police building is, you know that it's a dark, almost looking like an abandoned building. And I think the initiatives that my administration and together as a team is going to be to cement proper protocols and proper things into place where you know that we were here and we were able to put things together, whether it be beautifying the GSU police building so you feel like you have a safe place to go, or bringing back a homecoming concert with people our students actually want to see and enjoy, whether that be shuttle buses from the different campuses to the Atlanta campus so that they can reap the benefits that the Atlanta campus has to offer as well, or whether that be all of the different initiatives that my campaign has ran on. Is really important to me. And I also think that all of you and the SGA have worked extremely hard and that your hard work does not go unnoticed. And I think that when a new administration comes in sometimes they think that they have to start over, they have to rebuild, and I don't think that's the case. I think that we need to cement what you guys are already doing, work on what you guys are already doing, and just continue to make it even better to cement all of our legacies. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Ms. John Bart, you may go ahead with your rebuttal.
Thank you. I just also want to let you all students know that you can also hold SGA officers accountable, just like you can also hold legislators accountable, making sure that we are also doing what we're meant to be doing and what we promised you. And I promise you that throughout my administration, if I were to win, I would continue building transparency. So we actually have teams where we put everything that we do there so that the next administration can also see what has been done. That's something that's available to you all as well, and you're also able to even see the meeting minutes. So as a president, I'm going to be open to ideas that you're going to bring. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. John Bart. That concludes our debate for president. Thank you so much again to our candidates, and let's give them a final round of applause. Before we conclude tonight's debates, we encourage all students to familiarize themselves with ranked choice voting, the system that will be used in this election. Ranked choice voting allows you to rank candidates in order of preference, ensuring your vote continues to count even if your first choice candidate is eliminated. Voting will be open Monday, March 9th through Thursday, March 12th. The new administration will be announced on Monday, March 23rd, and the awards inauguration ceremony will take place at 7 p.m. on Thursday, April 9th in Speaker's Auditorium. Your voice matters. Be sure to get out there and vote and help shape the future of student government. Thank you, everyone, and good night.